Welcome back to Paradise City, or as the Big Pineapple, as some people like to call it. Nobody calls it that. In part 2 of the build, we start on our very first neighborhood. We need some people to live up in here. Am I right? And as always, if you have any suggestion, question, or remarks, or you just straight up want to tell me that I'm a bitch, then do so in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. The main goal of this part of town was kind of inspired by my hometown of Montreal, where a lot of streets are zoned and built with the idea of keeping line of sight to the mountain, the Mont Royal. And this is kind of what I'm doing right now at this very moment. This map behind me right now, you can't see it, but there's a mountain with a waterfall and kind of a river running alongside it. So that's what I'm trying to keep a line of sight to. And so that when people come out of the train station, they see that beautiful view. And I'm going to do that on both exits and entrances of the train station. Here I'm trying to make the crossings from that tram slash bike lane kind of as seamless as possible. So that it looks like cars can still go through, but there's also this sort of visual priority to the bikes still. I hope you like these planters as much as I do, because boy, I'll tell you that they're being used quite heavily in this city. One thing that I think is cool about them also is that they act as a park. So whenever I build a custom plaza of some sort, the game wouldn't recognize that as a park, so it wouldn't have all the advantages of parks, such as, you know, high happiness and high land value. But using these planters, then the game recognizes that plaza as a park, so that's a nice little added bonus. My goal with this pedestrian street slash plaza is to have it as mixed use as possible. So I'm putting down some commercial, some residential. And one trick you'll see me use a little later on is the use of service blocks, which can spawn, you know, commercial, residential, or office space. And so whenever a building looks like it should be mixed use, but the game won't allow that, you know, by default, I'll just use a block service. So for example, if a building looks like it has commercial at the base but is zoned as residential in the game, then I'll use a commercial service block and then like kind of hide it in there so it becomes a mixed use building. Who's got bet on how long will it take for my computer to explode with all these props I'm putting down? Like each of these benches and palm tree, I think I have like 6, 8-ish props each, and I'm just being very liberal with them. I like to provide my Sims with as much shade as possible. This is a very warm city where there's not a lot of rain, so if I can make my Sims a little happier with a bit of shade using umbrellas or trees, then I'm happy to do it. Here you can see me use the service blocks I was talking about earlier. I'm just setting them up so that each level represent a amount of employees or amount of resident if it's residential, so that depending on what building I use, the size of it, then I have something that is appropriate for the situation. I do end up adding a road underneath the decal on the plaza because the building that are zoned there do need to have access to, you know, garbage trucks and emergency vehicles. Here I'm moving on to a block that's going to be dedicated to schooling. So there's an elementary school on one side and a high school on the other side. And as I did earlier, I'm still trying to keep that line of sight to the mountains in the back. Here I was desperately trying to find a building that would fit in that corner, but I'm just giving up and giving my Sims, something to play basketball on. Here I'm trying to find a good way to make the transition between grass and concrete. Anyone who's played City Skylines know that it's hard to define a very straight and square transition between the two surfaces. So what I end up doing is downloading this curb network prop here, and then I'm just using procedural object to shape in some prop grass to make a nice defined transition. Here I got a bit of a scare. I noticed that when I pressed play, I noticed that cars were despawning at some point along the highway and couldn't get to the city. And I thought maybe the map was broken and that I'd done all of this for nothing. But then I did some testing and I just rebuilt the old highway and it somehow fixed it. I'm not sure what the problem was, but now Sims are coming in and they're very disappointed by the lack of service, for now. I don't have that many decals downloaded right now, so that's why you see me use intersection marking tool to make like a ghetto crossing a little larger, but it worked. I added some office buildings at the edge of the tracks here because the demand was pretty high. I also plopped some hospital, a fire station, and a police station along there, but I ended up deleting them because I don't think they looked particularly good, so I went and found some better ones on the workshop. Here I came back to the lower part of the train station. I ended up continuing that plaza that we had going on in the first part all the way to there, and plopped some pretty cool office buildings, some kind of historically looking buildings that perhaps don't fit that much, but once it's in there with all the other stuff, it just seems like it fits. I already mentioned it in part 1, but for me it's really important that Sims have a place to sit, mostly because in real life it's important and not enough cities do it, but you want your Sims to be able, or I guess real people to be able to sit as much as they can, so that it makes walking more attractive of an option for them, so they can take a break and enjoy the scenery. Obviously Sims in the game don't do that, but I like to think that they still enjoy it. Here I'm making more of a nature type park. Most of the public space in my city so far has been more like plaza, concrete, pavement, base parks, but I think it's time for our Sims here to have a little more nature-y spot they can go to, perhaps walk their dogs. It's something that I'm not very good at, and you can tell this isn't my finest work, but once you're in there, if you go to the ground level, zoom in, it does look like a pretty peaceful and serene place to be. Here I came back and added the new assets that I downloaded for the police station and the fire station, as well as the hospital, and then I'm just trying to make it blend within the environment because this is a very weird block. It has an odd shape to it, so I try my best to make it look like it fits within the confine of the block. I see a lot of decent assets, but a lot of them like surround their buildings with bollards, and it seems a bit excessive to me. Like, who are you trying to keep out? Here I'm trying to find something that would fit nice at the end of this narrow block, and I ended up coming up with something that I like to think of as the Flatiron Building of Paradise City. So now it's just a matter of making things around it look pretty and look like they fit in such a narrow, pointy block. We're almost done here with this neighborhood. All I needed to do is I added another building, an office building, and then beautified it, put a little backyard plaza in the back for all the employees to enjoy, and also added 2 residential buildings on the lower station part where I actually forgot to build anything. There you have it, Paradise City's first neighborhood. People are moving in, people seem to be enjoying themselves. Hope you enjoyed yourselves as well. And if you did, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Make sure to tune in for part 3 because I got something special brewing. Something that is taking me many of minutes to complete, but I think it's pretty cool. So see you guys later.